All right, guys, so now we want to do the single page, the single property display. We're already fetching the data. We have it in our property state. So it's going to end up looking like this. Now, right now we're going to put everything in, but the stuff like on the side, the bookmark, share, contact form, that's just going to be hard-coded HTML for now, and then later we'll break it up into separate components with separate functionality. The main image, I want to put into its own component called property header image. Then we'll have all the data here for the property. The map we'll do later. The images and light boxes, we'll do that later as well. So I just want the main info and the header right now. Now there is a lot of HTML to copy, so I may include in this video or in this section just the finished page.jsx file, just so if you guys don't want to copy all the HTML. But let's get started. I'm going to create a separate component for the property image header, like I said. Let's go back to our project. And let's go to components and create a new file called property header image.jsx. Image.jsx. Let's create a component, and then I'm going to import it into that page. Okay, and then we're going to go down here, and let's see, we're going to go, before we output that component, I just want to do an if statement here and check to see if there's no property and if there's no loading. So basically, if the property is null, I just want to show an H1 that says property not found. So let's say return, and we'll put an H1. Let's just give it a couple classes. So text-center. What else do I want to do? Text-2XL. And font-bold. And margin top 10. Okay, and we'll just say property not found. Now let's go under that if statement to where we have this return, and let's just make that a fragment, get rid of that. And then in here I want to check, let's say if not loading and property, and then in here is where we'll put everything. So I'm going to put another fragment in here. Let's see, the property header image, we'll go ahead and put right here, and that's going to take in an image prop, which is going to come from the array of images. So we have access to property, that's what we fetch from the back end, from the database, that has an images array, and then I'm going to pass in the first image. Okay, so let's just save that. And obviously right now we're just going to see this property header image because that's all we have in here. So let's go to the theme now and copy what we need. So the theme file we want is property.html. And if we come down under the nav bar, everything is labeled with comments. So the property header image is going to be this section right here. So let's put that in our property header image component. Okay, we'll paste that in here. And let's change the classes to class name. And let's bring in the image component. And then let's change the image tag to the image component. And let's see, for the image itself, we're going to make the source dynamic. So let's add some curly braces and backticks. And then instead of this hard-coded image, it's going to be the image that's passed in as a prop. And we also want to put a slash in front of images. Now that image is going to come in here as a prop. Okay, because that's being passed in right here. So we're going to take it from here, put it in the source, and then there's a few things we need to do for this image tag to work. or this image component to work. It has some weird quirks to it, or maybe it's just me, I don't know. But let's see. Yeah, so missing height. What I find works is to have a width and a height set to 0. So this is so we don't get any warnings. So I set the width and the height to 0 and then set sizes to 100 VW. And then let's also add width full as a class. And then if we open up the console, we still have one warning here, and it says the image was detected as the largest contentful paint, so it wants us to add a priority property. So to get rid of that warning, we can say priority and set that to true. So now if we reload the page, we should see the image and we shouldn't see any warnings down below. All right, so that takes care of that. So if we go back and we go to another property, we'll see that whatever the first image in the array is, because that's what's being passed in. So the next thing is the back button. So this are back to properties. So if we go to our theme, it's this right here, this section. So I'm just going to grab that. And let's see, we'll just put this right under the property heading, or property header image. And yeah, let's change this to a link. So we need to bring that in up at the top. Next, link. Okay, and then the classes, change those to class name. And now we have our back to properties button. The icon isn't going to show up right now because it's an I tag. Remember, we're using React icons, but we'll do that after, because there's quite a few icons that we're going to have to bring in. So now we have the rest, basically the main part. Let's see, let's go back to property HTML. And basically, I'm just going to grab this whole section. This has everything, that sidebar, all the property info. It's a lot, so bear with me. So it goes down to right above the footer. And then that we're going to put, this is going to be broken up later, so it's not going to, this page isn't going to be, huge when we're done with it, but it is for now. So let's go right under that section and paste in that section. I think there's some comments here that we need to comment out, some HTML comments, like contact form, sidebar. Okay, and there's a ton of classes, so those need to be changed to class name, but I also already changed a bunch of classes to class name, so I think what I'm going to do here is select all the class names with Command or Shift L, change it back to class, and then select all of the classes and change those to class name. That way we get all of them. And then if we look down here, let's see. So now we have the for attribute. So I'm going to search for equals. Looks like that already has HTML4. I'm not sure why, but let's change this one. So HTML4. That one is already there. HTML4. Okay, so now that should get rid of the warnings. So, yeah, so the reason that this doesn't look like this, it's not split up into the sidebar, is because I actually added a custom class onto Tailwind in the config in order to do this. So it's split 70-30. This is 70%, this is 30. So what we can do, and I'll show you the class that is doing it. So if we go up to, not sure where it is, right here. So this grid calls 70-30. That's not an actual Tailwind class. That's a custom class our custom style that I created. So what we're going to do is go into the Tailwind config. So right here, Tailwind config, and we're going to add a few things here. I meant to do this earlier, actually. So in the theme extend, we want to get rid of this background image. That was like the landing page gradient. We don't need that. I do want to change the font family. And yeah, I meant to do this earlier. So I'm going to change that to, let's say, Sans. And then that can take an array of font families. We're going to use Poppins. And let's do sans-serif. Okay, so that'll change the font. And then for the 7030 thing, under that font family, we're going to say grid template columns. And we're going to add here 70/30, because that's the class that I used. And we're going to set that to 70% space, and then I'm not going to do 30 because I need a little more space, so we're going to do 28%. Otherwise it's like it's pushed over a little. So let's add that, and now you can see that it looks better. It looks good. It's split up. All right, so we're just adding a custom grid class by doing this. And again, I meant to do that kind of in the beginning, but that's fine. Okay, so we have a bunch of just hard-coded stuff here. What we'll do in the next video is finish this part up where instead of obviously hard-coded data or hard-coded HTML, we're going to add our data. There are some conditionals we need to add, and we also want to add our icons.